Hey everyone, you're in for a treat with this video, but before you get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Mainly subscribe. Please subscribe. In this video here, I have me and my guest appearance on the Inverted World podcast. Really excited to share this with you, and I'm looking forward to the next one. After it's over, be sure to click the little toggle thingy to take you to the next video of mine. Love you. Bye-bye.
Corbin, we are here.
There he is.
Hey.
Yeah.
What is up?
What's up?
Not much, guys. How we doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be on. I'm happy to be here, and I'm a big fan of you guys.
Thanks for
man.
the show.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. So you can kind of take your pick of the litter. I have a missing time story, kind of boring one, to be honest.
Okay.
I have a UFO story. This one's awesome. It's like gold certified. And I have now I forgot. Oh, a demon story. So you can pick whichever one you want.
I'm gonna go with gold certified.
He had me at gold certified.
I mean, come on, dude.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready.
It was great branding. Let's do it.
All right. So backstory, not very short. I'm a private pilot, right? I was
Okay.
training to become a commercial pilot. So I know a little bit when it comes to looking at the sky.
Yeah.
I was at work. I sell cars. I was at work showing a vehicle to somebody in the back, and it had just gotten dark out. Sun just went down. And off in the distance, I see all these lights. You know the spotlights that they used to do in front of theaters when movie theaters used to be big? You could see them from the other side of town,
Yep.
like during a show release,
Mhm.
movie release. That's what it looked like. It looked like 7 or 8 of those.
Hmm.
And I was like, but it was elevated, like it was coming out of the middle of the sky. And it was just really, really bright, probably several miles out. And I turned to the guy that I'm talking to, and I'm like, I just noticed those. Do you see those? He says, yeah. I was like, I'm a pilot. I have no idea what the hell that is.
Hmm.
He was like, I'm an aerospace engineer, and I have no idea what the hell that is. I was like, okay, well, that's weird. So, this is definitionally a UFO. I know it's not like necessarily an alien craft or anything. But then the next day, I'm talking to a coworker who's a good friend of mine. And we're just having a normal conversation. This was around the same time that all the sightings were happening, the drones were happening, all that stuff was going on, like toward the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And so I was talking about it a bunch, and I had never had a UFO sighting, but I didn't say anything about this. I had forgotten about it. He says to me, dude, I need you to not be annoying about this, but I'm going to show you this. My wife was walking the dog the other day. So let's say I was south of where the lights were.
Mhm.
He lives east of where the lights were. And he says, my wife was taking a walk with the dogs the other day, and she saw this in the sky, and she was like, oh, that's so weird. What is this?
Hmm.
And so she took a video from a different part of town of the same thing me and this aerospace engineer saw and couldn't identify, thinking herself that it was a UFO. And he didn't even want to share it with me. I didn't tell him about my sighting. He just volunteered it to me.
Hmm.
And so from where they were at, it was to the west.
Okay.
So I was able to actually figure out where it was coming from to make sure there wasn't an airport there, and there wasn't, or anything like that. It was out in the middle of nowhere. It was open, unworked land. So 3 different people, video evidence, nobody knew what it was, identifiable area, gold certified. It was crazy sighting.
Did the video look exactly like what you were seeing the day before?
No, it was identical. It was the same thing. Obviously, different angle, but
Right.
yeah, it was the exact same thing. And like I said, it was like several spotlights that went up, and then they showed up as quickly as they disappeared. They vanished all at the same time. I stayed out and watched them for a minute. We both did. We were really mesmerized by them. They were really, really bright. It was easily like 1.5 miles, 2 miles away.
So it was like they were coming down from the clouds.
No, they were coming up.
They were coming up.
They were coming up, which is why I was like, maybe it's a runway light or something.
Gotcha.
That doesn't make a lot of sense, but it could happen. But it was a pretty clear night too. So it wasn't like a trick. There was multiple of them. They were uniform in the way that they were shooting out the light themselves.
And
So it was just super weird.
was it like a golden light?
No, it was legit like LED almost, right?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
It was white light.
White light. Okay, and it looked like it was all
Yeah.
coming from one area for the most part, like not one source, but and from the same basic area.
Yeah, from the same area, but not from the ground. It looked like they started in the middle of the sky.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
Super weird. Super weird. A pilot, aerospace engineer, and random woman. There's video. We triangulated the position. There's nothing above or below the area where we saw him. So that's almost as good as it gets. Those are pretty wild ones.
That is wild. Did you ever look up online if anyone else saw anything similar?
I looked around. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any articles around it, but the area I live in is all boomers. They were probably in bed by then. I don't want to dox myself.
Yeah, I don't want you to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so like median age in my area is like 82. So
nice.
There was like nobody out.
Right.
So it is what it is. It was like almost 9 o'clock.
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Very strange. And they just disappeared after a little while.
Yep, just they reappeared. They appeared out of nowhere all at the same time because it was multiple of them, and then they disappeared at around the same time. There was like one or two lagging behind, and then it disappeared too.
So I know.
And here's the other thing: like when you're flying, there's a reason why you're not supposed to point those lasers and flashlights and stuff at planes.
Right.
I've had that happen to me while I was flying at night, and you can't see anything. It like blinds you.
That's crazy.
And it's so obvious where it's coming from. And actually the FAA is really good at like figuring out who did it. So most of the time when people do that, they actually do get arrested or fined because you report it in from the plane and they're like on it. They know exactly where it's coming from. You've got a really good chance of catching them.
Yeah. Wow. I fly with my buddies sometimes, and we've had to report drones and stuff like that were in like no-fly zones near the airport, and you're like, you see it, as it, like I'll usually co-pilot for him, and I'll be constantly looking around, for birds or things like that to fly, because he's flying like a one-prop, Saratoga.
Yeah, same.
And it's awesome, but it's also your head's got to be on a swivel because you don't know where these aircraft are coming from, and sometimes there's some idiot flying a drone right by the airport when he shouldn't be. And it's crazy how insanely dangerous that is. Like, you can actually take out somebody and kill a number of people in a plane crash, just being a jerk like that. Yep. So
general aviation is not safe, right? It's like airline aviation is the safest way to travel, but general aviation, single prop planes, Cessnas, Pipers is what I flew. They're not safe planes. Right?
Not at all.
They break down all the time. They have engine issues all the time. They crash all the time. Oh, really quick. Are you a member of MS-13? I noticed the Bulls hat.
So you'll notice in the pictures that Abrego Garcia is wearing the black and white one. I actually did try to purchase the black and white one from the lids out in Dulles, and it was too small.
Let's see your finger tattoos. You have knuckle tattoos?
No. I abstained from the knuckle tattoos.
Okay, all right.
I'm Chicago, born and raised basically, but I abstained from the prison tattoos. I only went to jail one time.
I love Chicagoans. There's only a couple I've met that I wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, they're good peeps.
Most of us, but some of us are complete dicks.
So you said you said that this was happening around the time the drones were happening in Jersey. What was your take on all that while it was going down?
So I think that those were definitely either experimental government or alien UFO. I don't know if you guys remember the story of the police chief out of New Jersey who came out and said, we don't know what these are. They're going way too fast for our scanners.
Yeah.
We tried to figure out what they were and we can't.
Yep.
I think that when Trump came out with his report on it, that he was fed a bunch of bullshit, which leads me to believe that it's one of those two things. But from all the videos I saw, there was a lot of fake ones that were just like actual drones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that always happens, and there are drones, but there was many of them that were not drones at all. They were definitely something else, and there was a lot of them. And in my opinion, and I'm not a professional, but I have friends who are professionals as far as aviation is concerned, and they agree with me that the ones in question, that were irrefutably not like regular drones were definitely
Yeah.
at least some government experimental technology.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. And then before I let you go, what do you think you saw on this night when it just got dark? Do you think it's something like what you're just saying, military tech, or do you think it's something extraterrestrial, weird like that?
Well, it's hard to say because when you see other like when you see lights in relation to like any kind of UFO stuff,
Mhm.
most of the time it's like, well, that's just this kind of plane and it's got these lights and it's required to be on at night, right?
Mhm.
But these were really bright spotlights, which are not legal. They were in an area where, because I was actually right by an airport, but it was not in the direction of the airport. It didn't have anything to do with that. And it didn't make sense that they had anything to do with like at least any GA planes.
Mhm.
Um, Now the issue is that they're LED lights, right? So like to say conclusively that that's like aliens is not really
Mhm. Yeah.
that doesn't really make sense either.
Yeah.
But they were also dancing around. So it's hard to say. Like, I think that unidentified is the most accurate way to put it.
Mhm. I
I
think so
don't
too.
know. I think that whenever it comes to the alien, I'm one of those people who's like, any technology sufficiently advanced is essentially magic, and just like with Atlantis and stuff, I don't
Mhm.
want to put it on the aliens because that's just like hand waving it away.
Mhm.
I like to say there's probably a human solution to a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
and so that's probably the case here. But who knows? I'd like to be wrong. I want to believe, as
Yep.
they say, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's weird. It's these things we can't explain. They're bizarre. I think it's typically human stuff. I mean, there's some things I've heard I can't explain. It's hard to imagine some humans doing it, but I think we've built things we just can't comprehend yet. That, by we I mean people and like deep underground building some sort of crazy Lockheed Martin thing that they just test out in the public. And
I,
maybe you saw one of those.
I think that the biggest indicator that aliens are real are actually crop circles. They're probably the most like definitive
Interesting.
proof of aliens.
Interesting.
And it's just like with the drone thing. Yeah, a good amount of them are done by people, but some of them are not able to be recreated by people and they appear too quickly. And the designs are kind of uniform across.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've looked into those. I haven't heard you talk about it, but if
Just a
you
bit.
haven't, I encourage you to deeply because they're way, way, way more likely to be aliens than anything else.
Yeah, I think it was last week we did a bit on it because there's a new one out of Wiltshire, and it looks fake to me. It's like a Joker face, but
Mm.
that story led me to looking at crop circles, something I never really took all that seriously. And after that, I'm like, okay, I got to look into these a little more because some of them are just so bizarre, and they claim to have been made in just seconds, and they're so intricate. So either we've got something we don't know that just makes that stuff immediately, or it's something else
I
trying
feel
to
like you got to
contact.
look at old pictures of crop circles in order
Yeah.
for it to really, because
Yeah.
AI is just ridiculous now.
Yeah.
And there's a crop circle with an aerial view. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to tell whether it's real or not from
Yeah.
looking at these things, man.
No,
know?
what you need to see is the weaving pattern of the grass, right?
Mm.
Because that's the indicator. When people do it, it just kind of gets crushed underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have these really ridiculously complex ones, the ones from the early 90s or early 2000s, late 90s and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you're finding these really complex geometric patterns. Sure, that's par for the course for these, but when you look at the actual like wheat or whatever crop it's being put into, they're not crushed or destroyed, they're woven into each other. And that's where it gets crazy, like when
Okay.
you start seeing all the details on that. Like it's one of those things where it's really easy to be like, oh, you crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy bullshit, but the more you look into it, the more you're like, wait, maybe the moon is hollow. You know what I mean? It's
Now we're
like one of
talking.
those things.
Now we're talking. Do you have a certain
It's cheese.
certain crop circle story you recommend us looking into?
What I would say is the Y Files did a really good episode about it,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
I
would
love
check
them.
that out to get started. I
Cool.
don't have a ton of the specifics on hand because I lost it in an old computer. Yeah, I'm like a file guy.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, the Y-Files are amazing. They do some great videos. So I didn't know they did when I looked that up for sure. Well, thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate the phone call.
Hey, before I
Oh,
go,
yeah.
if you guys don't mind checking out
Nope.
my YouTube channel,
Go for it.
Corbin, Dauster. I cover news and stuff, and I just started it up. It's getting pretty popular with shorts, and I would love to have you guys there. Thank you
Sick.
so much.
Awesome, man. That's
Oh.
awesome. Well, congrats on that, and thanks for calling in.
Thanks.